What is up, down, and sideways? Yeah, beautiful people. We have returned. It is League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you guys for some global power rankings now that we have reached playoff territory in at least the LCS and LEC. The final week in the LCK and the LPL, which means these power rankings are only going to get stabbed with some adrenaline as we get into the best of fives across the globe.
And Iceland couldn't wait any longer. They have the volcano already
Hype's
erupting.
Already there.
Exactly. The hype is overboard in Iceland. They just can't wait to get some mid-season invitational action going on. MSI around the corner, playoffs underway in almost every region. This is the Global Power Rankings. We are getting into that exciting time of the year where we're finally going to get some international action to spice up this list as well.
Yeah, and that's where we start because we're going 20-11 and we got a couple of debuts. First, we got TSM losing to Team Liquid. We've said they were borderline. They lose that, they're out. Mad Lions, we didn't see them play. That's the theme. LEC didn't play this week, but we're giving some recognition to the two biggest minor regions, and you can talk about them not even being minor regions anymore, the VCS and PCS, and we're giving some recognition to the top dogs from those regions. Talking GAM eSports, of course, because if you're talking Vietnam, you can't ignore talking about them. They are 10-1 in their best of series, 20-5 overall. Yes, Levi is still there. He's been having a fun time with this jungle meta. I could guarantee you that. But Vietnam, it's kind of the same. You look at the past few years. GAM has been there. You threw in the Buffalo Phong Vu for a while, but there's always been that clear top dog in Vietnam, and right now it's still GAM.
Hey man, what's the anime that's popping off? Season 4 of Attack on Titan? You got Levi popping off here. It's all the same, my man. It is great to see the Gigabyte Marines here on the list. This is one of those situations, as you alluded to, with TSM getting beaten by Team Liquid and being on that borderline as well, with Mad Lions not having that action and still needing to be convinced a little bit more about them in regards to where they can stand in the power rankings. Perfect opportunity combined with us starting to make our preparation for MSI, looking into some of these other regions and internationally. Absolutely a great opportunity to have the Gigabyte Marines come through here. And once again, this is going to be, maybe tiresome old record for some people. Don't be sleeping on them, my man. I'm telling you, you sleep on these teams, especially at MSI.
They've got more than enough upset wins, at least 2.
They've got more than enough skill to throw a wrench in your plans and completely derail any other type of hopes.
LEC's sweating already, seeing them on this list. Ahead of them,
should be sweating, my man.
Everyone should be sweating. Ahead of them, we have PSG talent from the PCS, who you'll remember from Worlds last year, and a lot of the roster carried over. Remember, they had the issues with visas and COVID quarantining for their actual roster, but the bulk of the roster's back. The bot lane of Unified and Kai Wing. Hanabi's back in the top side, River in the jungle. Really the only change is Maple. His return back to the PCS, be reunited with Hanabi. And these guys, they're 17-1. Regular season is done now, obviously locked up first. I just want to read you a couple of stats for these guys because they have the highest gold differential and team KDA of not just, the PCS. We're talking the entire world, every single region included, and they're still number one. Even these minor regions where there's one team who completely beats up on everybody, they are number one in those categories.
It was a situation, let me take you back a couple of years when the Flash Wolves disbanded and everyone's looking at who was leaving, where they were going. A lot of the hype and a lot of talk was around Maple going with Karsa to the LPL. Unfortunately, the way it played out in the LPL for someone like Maple was just seeming like, to be the type of player that you were, for the Flash Wolves, you're just kind of that tier below when you start talking about what is added into the LPL and what is, required of you, not only in your individual matchups, but around with the rest of the team. Wasn't able to perform at the desired level. You go back home, you always can go back home, and he is home performing, stomping, crushing everybody, and he is a big reason why this PSG team is feeling as good as they are.
PSG and GAM, the teams to be looking out for outside of the big four regions when MSI does roll around. Still ahead of them as they both climb up a spot is Cloud9 and Team Liquid, who both obviously got the victories over the weekend in the playoffs. They're still very close. We're going to get to see them go head to head, and then we'll finally know who deserves to be higher.
Absolutely. It's going to be the great head-to-head we're waiting for. A lot of people drew this one up. We've seen it before. Let's see it again, my man. It's time, because there has been absolutely changes in the performance and progression for both of these organizations. I think specifically on the Team Liquid side, as much as, I want to talk about how well Jensen stepped up this past weekend, I don't know how the story is not the absolute beast that you got on the top side of Alpha, making major advantages over everybody. And then on the flip side, Cloud9, Perks, giving us that killer edge that he's always shown us over in the LEC. And then as well, Fudge taking that next step forward, being a little bit more dependable, taking down someday. Need to see that type of action in their head-to-head.
I just want one of these teams to give us something like towards MSI where you're like, okay, I can see them at least, competing internationally, and we need a strong
less
playoff
burger
run.
flips.
Less Baron Burger flips from either of these squads. Then we have a couple of LPL teams, IG and Suning. IG goes down just because I'm losing confidence with them in every week as we continue to go. Even if they're beating up, taking 3 games to beat some middle tier teams in the LPL. Right now, I got more confidence in Suning.
It's pretty amazing that IG can lock in playoffs and we feel less confident about what's going on with Invictus Gaming. It just is, of course, the dilemma that is understanding what is going on there.
And 10
right.
teams making playoffs.
Right, and then it is also as well everyone else clinching in the LPL at the same time. Still got a feeling that if you overlook this IG team, you come in sloppy at any point, they will absolutely take that advantage and run with it and find a way to go away with the win.
I still want to see Wink get some starts before playoffs. I can't believe Puff, he's had a few moments. I mean, really, it was that one game that he debuted and had the pop-off performance, and then he's been starting game after game, week after week after that. And I was hoping I'd get to see Wink back starting.
And I think that's more than fair when you examine the actual performances and you're thinking about it. You're right that it was really that big pop-off performance, and it's been more or less, up and down to some degree, but not nearly the ups that you need to have when you're talking about what type of team IG wants to be. And I think someone like Wink, you're right, absolutely has the potential to get into that, to help IG get into that level of performance.
He really wasn't doing that much wrong when he did get subbed out for Puff, but when you go head-to-head against Viper and come out ahead in a clear fashion, I guess they're good to start for at least a couple of months. Rare Adam also slides down a few. Still slightly more confident in them than Suning and IG, but those 3 squads, that's your first round matchup, some combination of them with LNG. So we'll really see who the better team is when playoffs start rolling around. 11 and 12 is where it gets a little touchy because we've got T1. They continue to climb. They jump over Hanwha Life, which it's tough. It's tough to do this one, but I just think they're playing this week. It's the final regular season game for T1. And if you're previewing that series, I think most people are going to have T1 as favorites. It's close, but before that even starts, you'd give T1 the slight edge, so they're a spot ahead of Hanwha.
It's close enough that I think a lot of people would have to be going with the 2-1 type of prediction for T1 if you're looking at this situation. It's absolutely not in the territory of 2-0 in either way. You cannot be looking at that with what we've seen from both squads. And yes, this is counting on the repeat, the third, the fourth time we see the same roster for T1.
Crazy we even have to question that they would change the roster.
It's crazy in the first place, and it's even crazier that we have to question it with how little time we have left for playoffs, given this is the match for T1.
It's one series. It's all they've got. Bonkers to think that is a concern for us, but this is the year that we've been living in, and yes, that is the condition for me to have T1 ahead of Hanwha Life right now, and obviously can change with the head-to-head. Going that head-to-head, you have to give some respect to what T1 has done in recent form and how they've been able to do it. And that is, for me, giving them the edge over Hanwha Life. Taking 3 games to take down Afrika isn't enough to, completely stop the hype trade that is T1 right now. It was DRX and Hanwha so close for a while. DRX obviously had the rough week against the big contenders in Damwon and T1. And now it feels like T1 and Hanwha are the teams that are incredibly close. So
And we're just waiting. We're just waiting, my man, because it is whoever is next is the one up against your boys. Damn one in the rest of the power scale.
yeah, unfortunately, there's a couple other LCK teams that might have something to say about who's actually the best team in Korea. We slide into the top 10 now, and this is the whole top 10. Really, we're talking about some significant changes for things that have been relatively stable for a while. The first is Rogue, and the theme is LEC teams kind of taking a seat back as we've seen more teams play this week. Rogue still in the top 10, just barely on that spot, and ahead of them is staying put is World Elite, who they got clapped. They got clapped by EDG, but you know what? Is there really that much shame in getting clapped by EDG these days?
This is one of those situations that we come into with the LPL, right? With what power exists in the LPL, you start to try and figure out this tier below that very top of the table, the very elite squads that you get. And it seems like that's where WE is going to fall into at the very least for this spring split. And to have them here and to, judge the performance of EDG against them, to me, it's just that's that simple difference, right? That is that level of difference of firepower on a given day that can happen when you have a team like EDG, which you'll see is very much in the top 5 of the teams in the world, compared to a WE, which finds themselves where they are in that top 10 of the list of the teams.
Top 10 in the world, still pretty damn good, guys. World Elite and Beishang is one of the best junglers in the world, despite the squad only being number 9. Ahead of them is FPX, and this is the third, maybe even the fourth week in a row we're seeing FPX slide down. This week, really all we had to go off of was a 0-2 against Victory 5. And the biggest thing for them is it's not just Beishuan you're pointing fingers at saying, man, if only you had Bo in the lineup. We're starting to see issues outside of the jungle now for FPX.
Right. And this is, I think, everyone's real concern when we had these changes and issues happening with the jungle position and the instability with who was going to be there. I think a lot of people were worried that eventually it would bleed into the other aspects of the gameplay, the other aspects of FPX, which had turned around and had been much more like the FPX that won the world championship. Talking about Doinb looking like the Doinb playing whatever he wanted in the mid lane, super carry. You had everything working out in bottom lane. LWX really being the damage dealer that you wanted him to be last year, stepping back into that form this year. As you said, all of that is starting to really crumble and erode away. And it does all start with the jungle position. But I think putting all that pressure on these individual things and individual flaws now creeping back in is a little unfair.
And I think even you can look at Nuggery in the top side, who we saw on Damwon plenty of times. There were games he had a little bit of the shy in him, right? Where he's just a little too cocky, the whole klepto thing, even in 2020. And on Damwon, it was fine because the highs still clearly outweighed the lows for him, and he had a world championship team to cover up
Canyon.
some of his blunders.
Canyon.
He had Canyon. And now that he doesn't have that Damwon squad supporting him on FPX, all of a sudden those little mistakes, errors in decision making that he makes, they're a lot grander on this FPX squad now.
Yeah, and it's absolutely not only just that, but it's the level of competition, right? It's everyone else in the LPL and what you're going up against as far as top laners, junglers. Absolutely, they're gunning. They're gunning for Nuggery to make him have a bad day. He's had some bad days, unfortunately.
And FPX down again in the rankings. Up this week, and it was the big bounce back for me of the week, was Gen G. Because after that T1 series, everyone was quick. Buy now or sell your Gen G stock right now because it's over. They're choking.
I sold. I was out, my man.
Mark got rid of everything. And now all of a sudden, the stonks are soaring again because they show up against not T1, but Damwon, handed them their second loss on the season. And Gen G, they looked really good in that series. It took 3 games, but they went toe-to-toe with Damwon. This wasn't Damwon trolling by any means. Sure, they get a little crazy in the games, but I wouldn't say it was a big underperformance from Damwon. It was Gen G stepping up.
It felt like finding, you open up a Pokemon pack and you got the holographic Charizard. You're like, oh man, I'm in it. I'm in the cash right now. And then you trip on your way home in a pile of mud and it's all ruined and the card is broken. That's how I feel right now. Gen G, I had it. I had my faith in them and I said, nah. I don't want it anymore. That was a mistake. Absolutely a mistake. They proved to us that they still have what it takes on a given day to take down the top dog, take on a series like this. Yes, I think a lot of people, myself included, were not wrong to have their doubts and to feel bad about about the team, given the results against T1. But to sell out like the way I did, to sell them off and say, hey, you know what? I want to cash out. I don't got the belief anymore. That was wrong. They absolutely proved that they are more than capable of that right now this spring.
Even with T1 roaring right now, this win still cements Gen.G as that second best team in the LCK, and probably going to stay that way until we see the playoff best ofs run around. Who knows what'll happen there. Sixth spot is JDG, who just keep on winning in the LPL. And listen, you can critique them all you want. They have games against LGD where they struggle big time, shouldn't even win unless LGD is throwing. But listen, guys, 6 series in a row now they've won. Every single one of them have been 2-0. And by the way, one of those was against RNG. So JDG are coming. You can't hide from it.
Absolutely. The JDG hype train has arrived at the station. They are full on ready. They're picking up a couple of extra water bottles as they gear up for the long trip.
Exclamation point, hydrate.
Here we go. Got to make sure we're hydrating. Got to make sure we're ready for the kings of the LPL. This is going to be a showdown for that kingdom in the LPL. These playoffs that we've got geared up, and JDG absolutely going to be one of those squads. You know what, we talk all the time about a squad like IG waiting for you in the early rounds of the playoffs that you got to deal with. JDG is that next level in the playoffs that you're still waiting and you still got to take care of.
They're phase 2 of the boss. If the LPL is the end game boss, man, there's 4 different phases, and they only get more and more disgusting as they just go on.
And it's been a total smokescreen show about adding in what they did in the off season, because it's just been Yagao popping up in the mid lane.
Yagao and Loken.
They say, doesn't matter. We got the boys. They got it.
We got the boys. Champion pool issues, we'll ignore them for Yagao because there's too many other things you got to ban against JDG. Now we roll on to that top 5, which is the same 5 teams from last time, but we got a little bit of change. First, G2 slides to that number 5 spot, and we need to see G2 in playoffs before you can really put them ahead of some of these squads, because top eSports and EDG both climb up a spot. And even though TES had that 0-2 loss to RNG, they still look like they're incredibly dominant right now. They have that head-to-head against EDG, and Jackie Love and Knight both look like they're fully engaged now. We even get to see Jackie Love playing Jinx, which you can't be as aggressive with something like Jinx, but Jackie Love and Knight, still one of the most, if not the most terrifying duo carry in the world.
Has to be in that top list when you're talking about the duos around the world that we love to get to watch and see. Talking about G2, where they are in this list, they simply are in a situation where, you know what? Take care of business. LEC playoffs can help you move up a little bit, but as we alluded to, they need MSI. They want these matchups against the other champions from around the world. Take them down, prove themselves internationally. That's the level that they can really elevate themselves into the top 3 category, because, as much as we like to talk about top 5, I think we really have had a top 3, another echelon really emerge this year of the top teams around the world, and the level of skill that they've been putting out. It really has been a treat to watch.
Yeah, and it's really just a case of these LPL teams going head-to-head at all times. The competition is just at an absolute another level. And EDG is a squad that, again, despite that loss to TES, EDG absolutely bounced back. They had this dominant win against World Elite, who aren't just a playoff hopeful, but an upper-tier playoff hopeful. And
Viper was mad. Viper was mad.
Viper was definitely mad, and he was looking real good in that series. And the big change, obviously, it's the top 2 this week again. They're flip-flopping. You combo the Gen.G loss, or the Gen.G win against Damwon, means that they go to second. When you also combine it with RNG getting back on track, not only do they beat Rare Adam, one of these contenders up there, but also the 2-0 against TES. And that was a close series. It wasn't your typical 2-0 stomp, which is why TES still climbs up, but RNG locking up the top of the table for the LPL playoffs. And you know what? they're pretty good.
Hey, what year is it, my man? Is Uzi here? Nuh-uh. This is a new era, a new generation for RNG and what they are doing, and all the praise absolutely deserved on them. And this is the next week, the next wrinkle that we saw from them. We talked about it before. Xiaohu on the ADCs. Let's get those rolling in the top lane, some of those marksmen. It is just another way that RNG can attack you and take you down. It is the deadliest team in the world right now and the best team in the world at the top of our power rankings.
And I don't think we talk enough about how big a surprise RNG has being this good. In the preseason, I don't think anyone really knew that they would be role swapping Xiaohu to the top lane, but most people, us included, kind of had them a bottom tier playoff team or just borderline bubble playoff team. And obviously,
considering the rest of the power in the LPL, how could you expect them to be high?
Exactly. Sooning most of the lineup returning from the World Finals. You had top eSports, JDG. All these guys were still intact, and some only getting upgrades to look even stronger. So the fact that RNG just completely shattered any of those expectations. Yeah, we're praising Xiaohu for all these crazy picks, but Wei, I don't know how you're arguing against him being the best jungler in the LPL with a league that has Karsa, that has Kanavi, and we're talking about Wei.
And the consistency of the high level of performances from Wei has really been the thing that has surprised me with RNG. He has always been the guy that has set the pace and been what they needed this split. And you really like how he has accented, as we've talked, someone like Xiaohu in the top side, making that type of transition. Wei has been very important in making sure he's been comfortable up there and finding success. And again, I want to bring it up a lot of times. Gala, this is someone who has stuck around and been with this RNG roster for a little bit. And to find his performance now in the starting role, this is a good time to be a fan of RNG.
And I don't even think they've hit their ceiling, because Cryan can still reach higher with stuff we saw from him on E-Star when the team depended on him more. I think he's still only scratching the surface, which is a scary
And
thought.
when we're talking about all of this, and then we get to talk about what Ming is doing in the bottom side. He goes under the radar. That is the level of power that we're talking with RNG this year. Clear Love's back in the LPL, but it's RNG back at the top of the table.
And I wouldn't, he must hate that, by the way. I wouldn't be shocked, all that praise we just give to RNG, but any of these top 3 LPL teams, EDG, TES, or RNG, wouldn't be shocked whatsoever if any 3 of them win the spring split.
Hey man, that's just the dangerous coin that is the LPL. You flip that one, it doesn't matter. It's got multiple faces, my man, and it's just RNG, EDG, top esports, JDG, whoever you want, it's gonna come up.
It's a very 4D fancy coin that can flip on different ways for who you're going to be flipping. But either way, LPL still dominating the top of the global power rankings. It's impossible to go against it when you look at the sheer talent that a lot of these squads in China have, and they've been the dominant region for the last couple of years. I know Damwon won last split, and Damwon is still a terrifying team in their own right. Everyone's already written them in for MSI to represent the LCK. That's it today for League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you guys. Thank you for hanging out with us, and we'll catch you on the Flippity Flip.